So that's the QR code to my website if you want to take a picture. I think it's on one of these pages as well. No need to focus on that right now. So, 10 winning strategies for offers. These are 10, I didn't come up with these 10, but these are 10 things that I've seen on transactions that have really helped. Some of them I would never recommend, but I'll still talk about them. And just things I think would be helpful for you as an agent as you're competing in a heavily still seller's market in my eyes to get your buyer's offers accepted. So we all know this one, the first one, offering over the ask price. I haven't seen on any of my personal transactions recently anything going in under full list price. At least here in the San Gabriel Valley, it's going higher usually, unless it's been sitting around for a long time and there's a reason for it or whatever. But if it's a priced right property, usually that first week that it gets listed and had a first or second open house, if it's priced right, it's going into escrow. So you're not necessarily going to have the ability to have your client go, oh, you know, it's $899,000. Let's go $850. I think we can do this. You have to be then strong with your clients and say, hey, I know you'd love to get it for $850. I would love you to get it for $850 also, but the reality of the market is that that's not going to happen right now. There's 6 other people looking at this property. We have to come in strong, so typically that's one of the easiest ones, going over ask price. Of course, you then have to make sure that your clients have enough money to cover should it not appraise, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But usually 10,000, 20, even more. I've had clients in this market that is still going up in value. Appraisers are able to bring it in, so I haven't had any appraisal problems other than maybe one, and we knew up front that it was probably going to be a stretch on that one. So that's one tactic that you can use. So you want to work with a good lender, so your client's fully prepared, knows all those options up front, so that when they write something, they'll know if they can go higher in price or not. If you're maxed out at 800 and you're looking at a property for 800, that's going to be a tougher one because you're probably going to have to go to 810, 815, 820. Maybe have to relook at that client and figure out how can we do that, or be realistic with that client and go, hey, 800 is your top, so let's start looking at homes at the 750 range that might have to bid up to that. So just keep that in mind. Larger down payment benefit, of course. You know, you have clients that have 20, 30, 40, 50% down. That's usually a stronger offer, right? The sellers like to see the big down payment. Even though it could be a fully approved loan, they just feel psychologically more comfortable. So when you have that ability, of course, that's a great one. I have had agents also who have clients that they have set up the offer, wrote the contract, said, hey, we're going 20% down, and we get into escrow and they're like, they're only going 15. If they're approved to do so. The sellers typically don't care if it closes. It's just if it doesn't close, then you're going to have a problem. You're going to have to get it to that 20% to make it work. But I've never had a seller go, oh, we saw that you put into escrow, you're only going 15% down now. They don't even know that till the end. So as long as everything's approved, flowing smoothly, that is a tactic I've seen agents use, and it's beneficial. Larger earnest money deposit. Well, I don't think you're going to get away with much less than putting at least 3% these days. I see 3% being the most common amount probably on offers. I've had deals get into escrow with as little as $500, but it's a different market, a different area, and there was more control with that seller. It's not going to be common. So of course that's another tactic that can help you. So knowing what your client has available, having the discussions, your lender having the discussions of, hey, you've got a 401k, you might want to put a little bigger money, earnest money deposit. You can pay it back after if it's within 90 days usually and not have a tax consequence. But different ways that maybe you put a little larger earnest money deposit, but your client's not going to want to do that unless they're totally secure on the loan. So as we talked about before, another reason to do the full pre-approval. If they've got a guarantee on their earnest money up to $5,000 and the inspections up to $1,000, and they know it can close in as little as 17 days, they're going to be a lot more likely to be comfortable with a bigger earnest money deposit. Waiving inspections. This is one of the ones that I don't recommend, but there are times where your client is so in love with that property, the seller's telling him, hey, we're not doing anything, do your inspection, we're not going to pay for a thing. Sometimes waiving that, if your client really wants it, you just have to say, hey, you got to do your own due diligence, figure it out, because we're going in naked on this one. We're not checking it out. So definitely not one that I would be suggesting to my clients, but it is one tactic as well. Benefit of fast closing is a big one. So back to what I spoke about before, if we have a full corporate underwriting approval, the underwriter's already reviewed the client's income, documents, job, assets. Only thing they haven't seen is the appraisal yet. Appraisals get done quick in this market. It's not a busy market, so if I order appraisal today, being Wednesday, I could have it as early as Monday for sure. Sometimes a little longer, but typically about 7 days. So if you needed to do a quicker close, you could definitely do that. And that may help your offer to get accepted as well. So don't rule that out. But again, you only do that for a client who's fully pre-approved. If the lender hasn't done any of those processes yet, and you say, hey, we'll close in 15 days, 21 days, 17 days, and they haven't even done an underwriting approval, you're going to be stressing out and white knuckling it through that. So try not to do that. Offers with no contingencies, of course, that's another big one. I've seen offers of my clients get accepted because the agent was very aggressive, but they wouldn't have been that aggressive without the guarantee of full corporate underwriting. So again, not something I would suggest. Even me doing this for 35 years and knowing how to work with clients and figure out files, I'm still not comfortable saying, hey, just remove the loan contingency, don't worry about it, if I'm the one who did the approval. As good as I am, I would prefer to have a signed corporate underwriting approval before I'm going to suggest that to a client. But it's a huge one, because if you're competing with 3 other people and you're the only one saying, hey, well, I'll waive my loan contingency. Maybe keep a couple that keep you safe, appraisal or your inspection still. But if you wanted to be more aggressive on your offer and do something that may get accepted more easily, keep that in mind. Appraisal gap. So, oh yes, go ahead.
I have a question. Is it possible to do like a home appraisal, a home inspection in 7 days and say no contingencies on the loan, but still have a loan contingency as long as you do it within that 7 days that the house?
Well, what I've seen is situations where they might waive the loan contingency because of being fully corporate underwriting approved, and then they'll go ahead and waive the appraisal contingency because they're going to have me rush that appraisal and get it in within the same 7 days that you're doing that inspection, so that we get the value back and know, okay, it's solid before you remove your inspection contingency, but you're using the inspection contingency
Correct.
to try and, so
Correct.
that works.
Okay.
The only thing I will say about that is just because you get the appraisal in and the value came in and it hit my email, doesn't mean that 100% that the underwriter is going to accept that value, because they're still going to review the appraisal. So you also want to have enough time to not only get the appraisal in, but have it signed off by the underwriter would be ideal. Because then you know, okay, they checked you. I had one the other day where it stressed me out because I didn't have those contingency issues or anything, but the client's value came in and everything looked good to me on that appraisal, but underwriting reviewed the appraisal and they're like, well, we need that appraiser to go out and get one more comparable sale of a 2-bedroom comp instead and bracket the price. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I already told the clients that the value is fine. It ended up being fine. The appraiser got us what we needed exactly, but it just reminded me that, hey, even though I have the appraisal in hand, the underwriter needs to review that before you can comfortably say you're good to go. So great question.